Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today we're at Throgmorton Wealth Associates, and I laugh about that because Nick Jones, who's our guest, was very generous and sponsored us for Pod Aid, and live in front of the all 12 people that were watching. I was like, oh, thank you to Throgmorton Wealth Associates for giving us money, and we bumped into each other in the silent disco, didn't we?
That's right.
Oktoberfest. You were like, you said the name wrong. How are you, Nick? You good?
I'm great, thanks very much. Yeah, I had a good time. Well, had a good time at Oktoberfest, obviously, but I really enjoyed watching the live charity effort.
Did you do a run the next day?
No.
Or did you go to it?
No.
I must have read that wrong.
There was no. I'd done a mud run the morning of. So on the Saturday morning there was a mud run.
Good to blow off a bit of steam then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we had been on the Friday night. So Friday night mud run, Saturday, then the Oktoberfest Saturday evening.
My schedules fill up so quickly. Sometimes I'll be like, I've got like 3 things in the daytime, and then in the evening, like Oktoberfest, all these events. Like this Saturday, for example, I've got prison break at the Shrewsbury prison.
Right.
I finished that at sort of like 6 o'clock. Run home, get changed, shower. Then we're going to go out to the fireworks at Westminster Showground.
Yep.
To make
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Are you going to be going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks good.
I love Shrewsbury. It's a proper party town, though, isn't it? There's so much goes on there.
At the moment, especially because we've been cooped up for so long, and everything's been cancelled, waylaid, and sort of just generally put back. I think it feels like there's about 2 years worth of partying in the next 2 or 3 weeks, months.
Have you got over that yet? Because I've just come back from Skegness, which was great.
there was a thumbs up there for the listeners.
Yeah. It was a very ironic, great. I don't know why we do this. We go to these battered old seaside towns. We're like, oh, we love this, but really, they could do with a lick of paint. And
well, it's part of the charm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Part of the charm. You go and you know what you're going to get. You're not expecting Vegas. It's going to be okay. There might be somewhere that's an arcade that's called Vegas, but you're not expecting the full shenanigans.
Yeah, it was fine. But what we did enjoy was the entertainment, and the kid. Our kid loved it, and we'll say kids, we went with our friends. What I got from it was this: the club we were in was built for like 2,000 people, and boy, was that full of 2,000 people. And my heart was like, wow, this is. Yeah. This is so. How have you dealt with that? The groups of people and stuff.
Not too bad. Everything we've been to has been well organised. We haven't been to anything illegal or just that you're worried too much about.
Irresponsible.
Yeah, quite early on we were going to some of the test cricket events at Edgbaston. So you had to have the test beforehand, and you had to register, and it was all very nicely done. And when you got there, actually, it was one of the first venues I think I've been to that you didn't have to wear a mask inside. It was almost like a pilot event, and then they were measuring people afterwards about the rates and the infections and things, and I don't think there were many spikes really either, which was strange. But yeah,
it's weird how we're having to adapt through this new situation and this new way. Like, it's not new anymore, even. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, and you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and when we came after Christmas this year, which seems like a long time ago now, but it was only January, wasn't it? And then there was another lockdown that kind of caught us by surprise, and everyone was like, oh, okay.
Lockdown during the winter was an interesting one. How did it affect you and your work? Lockdown
itself, last March, I suppose March last year, so 2020, within a week we had to close the office, and everyone normally comes to work in the office and does most things here. Most of the support guys were based in the office. Most advisors spend a lot of time in the office, and then they get out and about and see clients either at home or clients come in here. So we've very much been face-to-face business really. We had to adapt. We had to shut the office quite quickly. We got an app that we were able to download that meant the phone system worked. So wherever people were working remotely, support guys as well, you went through to their mobiles because we didn't have a chance to relocate all the office phone system. So we were kept in touch. We wrote to every client and we said, we're going to be closing the office. We don't know how long for. If you've got any queries about or worries about your financial stuff, because people got money invested, that was one thing that was uncertain at the time. What was going to happen with financial markets? Because you've got all this global position going on.
Well, it affected the economy in such weird ways, didn't it?
Yeah. But most people with money invested, it was a short, sharp shock. There was a big drop, middle of March. Within 2 or 3 weeks, things had kind of settled, and the markets got used to what was going on and kind of had a plan. And unless people were really worried and panicked and then got out at that point, not many people lost much money really. Businesses were going under, and some were really quite badly affected.
Some now even still,
Absolutely, yeah.
is it Jacques that's just closed in Shrewsbury? I was well
Bistro
shocked
Jacques,
by that.
yeah.
Bistro
It's a
Jacques.
great venue, great location, you know. But I suppose they've had a lot to deal with being closed for so long. They've opened and had some support, hopefully, but there are a lot of good restaurants in Shrewsbury as well, and it's a real shame.
We want to do something with hospitality. We really do. We're ready and ready. As soon as I get my team, well, I'm ready and raring to go. I say we. That's That's definitely the royal we at the moment, because it's just me at the moment. But building my team up, and I really want to go out there and help hospitality with some great vlogs and some great information and some, really sexify it and show people what Shrewsbury's made of.
Yeah.
When it comes to the economy and things that happened during COVID, we saw some terrible things, obviously, with the panic buying and the toilet rolls and things like that. But what I found was there were nice reminders of community, really good things that were set up, like help groups, things like this. And when it comes to community, you're like you're king. This is one of your things you're keen on helping, isn't it? Community.
I've always enjoyed helping other people. It's just sort of probably the way I'm wired in the DNA. And lots of the team that we've built over the last 17 years, I joined St James's 2004 with no staff, with nothing. It was me, so I was in your position, just thinking about the team and thinking about what the business was going to look like. So for 2004, I've always got involved in charitable things, always got involved in community projects, always tried to help people, because what I've found and the business is based on really is just doing a good job and being a good person.
Yeah.
People do remember you when they need you, and they'll recommend you to other people. And now if people need something, it could be something random, but they'll often ask me, do you know somebody that can do this? And generally I will. And if I don't, I'll know somebody else that will know that person. So you become a great signposter and a really positive influence on people, and you can help. Why wouldn't you, really? So
it means... That's definitely my phone affecting the mic there. It really does help in more ways than you realise. When you help a project, say like with Pod Aid. So for the listeners at home that are unaware, Nick, you were very, very influential with how things ended with Pod Aid, because we got over that £1,000 hurdle because of you at the end.
Well.
And it was like I tried to hold my tears back, because I was so like, we've been working all year on this thing, and so it's not just about the money; it's about making a thing that works. And you made sure that this thing worked for me, and it just meant the world to us. It really did.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think I saw something I think Jules had put on Facebook to start with that was about the fact that there was an opportunity to sponsor, and I was intrigued. And if I'm honest, I didn't know much about podcasts. I don't generally know. I do subscribe to a few and I listen to some regularly. Not as regularly as I could, because everyone's busy doing stuff. But I was amazed at the impact and the effort that you were going to make it happen, and going through the night. And I watched quite late into the morning, and then I watched early in the morning again. I got up, I had about 4 hours sleep, so a bit more than you did probably. But I was just taken aback by it. But absolutely, I recognise that target figure was so important to you personally, and that was, you were almost, I would say probably wrongly, but you were judging yourself and the success of the whole thing by whether you hit that number or not. So because of how much it meant to you personally, we'd never met, had we, at that point? No. So we only met, we were drunk at Oktoberfest. But
that's what that was.
But I recognise the effort and the impact and the amount of difference it would make to you, having done that, and the team that worked with you to do that, and the guys in the States that were pulling it through the night and things. So if it had fallen £100 short and you thought it was a failure, that would have been horrendous.
Yeah, bless you. I do. I've learned a lot with the planning for Pod Aid, and the whole process was, I did take a lot on by myself, and I've had fallouts with my colleagues that are still close friends of mine, and it got very close to the wire with some of my friends, whether they were going to actually come, because I was just focused on me. And the reason being is because I have this really romantic idea with Pod Aid when it comes back next year, that it's going to be something that's going to grow and get bigger, and I needed that £1,000 start figure to say this is what we can improve on, which is going to make it even harder next time. But no, I do appreciate that. And I was talking about being drunk, so I just remember I had a flashback to me sort of messaging Tom Bruno, because David Raby, who's in California, was drinking whiskey for the whole thing, and he got to a point where he was just blotto. He was just so drunk he couldn't. Yeah. So I was like, "Yeah, David's gonna have to go and have a lie down for a bit." We literally canned him for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Is he the hairy guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to a point where I was like, Yeah, David needs to lie down. Go drink some coffee.
I did fear for you, to be fair. The time difference is one thing, and then having that not really a filling slot because it was the prime time and their time.
Yeah, of course,
and filling for us, wasn't it? And interesting characters and the dynamics of the cultures and how that all went. But obviously you're really good friends, and that came across as well. And it came across, and great that they were supporting and sponsoring as well. And
it's difficult trying to control your friends though, and this is what we were just
especially if they've been drinking Jack for 12 hours.
I was messed in as well. It was crazy. Right, we got ahead of ourselves massively. I want to talk about sort of I've written down here the Nick of yesteryear. What was it? Where do you hail from? Are you Shrewsbury origin?
Oh yeah, Shrewsbury boy, born in Copthorne Hospital.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in 1971. So I was 50. I don't mind admitting it. It's just a number. I was 50 in January during lockdown, which was
congratulations
great.
for making it this far.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a ride, but no, local guy. Love local things. I'm a great fan of Shropshire, great fan of local people because there's some fantastic people around. You've had lots of them on the show previously,
of course,
with Kelvin and Beth, and lots of people that we know mutually, but we've never met. But it's a great place to be. Great place to be in business. Great place to build a business. We started, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we started in 2004 with St James's Place, just myself. Built up. But if I take you back further, I suppose the continuity is going to be awful when people listen to this.
Going back in time.
Yeah, go back in time. So local schools, went to college, Tech up the road here, London Road. Did A-levels. I did an extra year because I was working in a bar at the time and not necessarily studying as hard as I could have done, which was great. So, but then I was doing business studies, and then I became a fan of business studies and really got into it, and I wanted to then become a business studies teacher. So I did a 2-year conversion from a H&D that I'd done at Crewe and Alsager at Wolverhampton University, so qualified as a business studies teacher. At the time, they didn't do business studies in Shropshire, so I was travelling to Sedgley, in between Wolverhampton and Dudley, from Shrewsbury in a battered Mark II Escort. Sometimes we'll get there, sometimes not. I did my teacher training, I got qualified, and I was doing supply teaching because there wasn't actually any business studies roles that were at that time that I managed to get. And whilst I was in that supply teaching role, I saw a job advertised, it was an Easter holiday or something, for the man from the Pru. So the Prudential at the time were one of the biggest life insurance industries, still are now. But they were recruiting non-industry people. There was a 6-week residential course. You learnt all about stuff. In the first day, I remember, didn't even know what a premium was. So, a payment for a policy. I didn't know. There was all my premiums. I thought, what's that? And I thought, crikey, I've got a long way to go here, really. But after that first 6 weeks, I did the first. There was FPC 1, 2 and 3. I did the first one after 6 weeks. And then actually started and changed career totally. So I'd been a qualified teacher, didn't get the full-time gig in that, and then became a financial advisor at that point. Back then, sort of late 90s, you could be a double glazing salesman, and then within a couple of weeks and a month or two of training, you could be a financial advisor. Nowadays, there's a bit more to it. It's a bit more serious. And
you can't just give everyone a job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, there is a big hole in the industry sector because there aren't enough advisors, and more and more people need advice. So lots of the guys are older than me that were in the industry. So if you've got an average age of 58, 62 or whatever it might be, they'll all be retiring soon. We need younger people coming into the industry, and it's a fantastic opportunity because you can make really good money, but you can really have a good impact on people's lives. So you can have that, whatever drives you, you can tick those boxes.
Yeah, and I think you got to be able to, when it comes to finance, I mean, it is a very skilled profession. It really is. I mean, we had help from, is it Chris Goff? Chris Goff, I think it is. No, he was very good, very helpful, because we became a CIC, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't do numbers and figures. And he, like, the information that this guy could reel off the top of his head and just help us. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to make sure you can look at it. And I was just like, wow, because it's not easy.
Yeah. Was that an accountant, or was that a
He was an accountant,
advisor?
yeah.
Right.
Okay, is there a difference?
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. There you go. Learning.
Yeah. So accountants would be about, well, got different. Again, you can nowadays specialise in different branches of accountancy. So you can be the bookkeeping type that just do your annual returns through them. So if you, with your business, you give them all the paperwork, they put in some sort of order, and then report to the revenue and make sure you pay the right amount of tax and stuff. That's the accountancy side. Or they can be involved in business planning about, okay, this is where we are now. What does a business need to look like for us to be more valuable in the future, and we can sell for multiple millions of pounds, whatever it might be. So that's the accountancy side. The financial advisor side, it's more about savings for the future. It's more about investment policies. It could be about protecting yourself if you've got a mortgage or if you've got young children and something happened to you. How is that going to be repaid, or how are they going to be looked after until they're able to look after themselves? So, and sometimes it's to do with a mortgage itself. That, you know, how do you buy your first home? How do you move up the ladder? A financial advisor would do that, not an accountant. And we've got a specialist mortgage advisor in the practice, Sean. He's a really good guy, and he looks after our existing and new clients, and for some local estate agents. So he's a specialist in that role.
So is it your job to stop people from being naive?
There's quite a bit of education. Yeah, it can be, and sometimes
people
we do
like me. I've never had a mortgage, so
no, and things like so mortgage is one thing. You know, one of the things that people generally earlier do, but are doing later now because houses are so expensive. Also things like pensions. We do on the education piece about pensions. Because for a lot of people, I've heard of the term, but I don't know what it means. You know, and it can make a massive difference. Yeah. And if you can get it earlier and actually begin something like that earlier, the growth of any money you put in over the length of time is really huge at the end. So the earlier you start, the bigger the pot at the end, however much you put in. And if you can get it managed properly in the meantime, even better, it'll be even larger, and then you'll be able to do more with it in the future.
Yeah.
So when you get to 55, 60, 65, 70, whenever you think, actually, I need some income now that's not going to come from working, if you've got that pot set aside, you're set. If you haven't, it's a bit too late, because you might have 2 years to go, and you think, oh God, if only had that chat with Nick in 2021. but putting foundations in place can make a real difference.
It's really easily done, though. I mean, I work for a good company, luckily, and we've got good policies with our pensions, and I just leave it go. Just crack on. Yeah, right. You'll look after my money. Go on, but you don't check it. You don't know what half the figures mean and stuff. Like I'm just absolutely putting my trust in them that they'll look after it for me. So sometimes it's good to get a second look, I guess. Maybe
it's good to get a second opinion. Also, you are like probably 90% of the population that get a statement. If you've got a pension, which is a good starting point, you get a statement and you look at it and think, okay, that's the value there. What was the value this time last year? Or you might tell you on the statement, actually. Oh, is it more this year? Is it grown? Yeah, great. Okay, great. Put it back in the drawer, and then forget about it till you get the next statement next year. Yeah. And that's kind of human nature, because if it's something that you're not interested in, it gets more important and more interesting the older you get, and the nearer an event when you might want to start taking money out of the pot. That gets more important. And a lot of people will contact me when they're 55 and say, right, Nick, 60. I had a chat with someone earlier, actually. He's 51 and he wants to retire at 60. So now he's thinking about getting everything in order, so he knows what he'll be in line for when he's 60. And with a good plan now, that's achievable. Without that plan, he's just going to kind of bimble along and maybe get to 60 and look at his numbers and think, oh God, I've got a bit of a shortfall here. Now what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep working. I've got to work 4-5 days rather than the 2 days I wanted to work. And what I love about what we can do, if people are organised enough and they've got everything in place, they've then got the time and ability, while they've got their health and energy, to make a difference to other things or get involved in things, or great charities they can volunteer at, and they've got the money sussed, they've got that taken care of. They can then spend their time on things that they really enjoy and that nourish their soul. Sounds a bit hippie, but that makes a real difference to people. The happiest clients I've got it nailed, and the money's taken care of, then you've got choice.
I always say, and I've always said it, like holidays, like these things that you pay for to go and enjoy, they're massive investments with you, because you go away on holiday, you come back, and what do? You're reinvigorated, you want to go and do things, and you're giving your brain a bit of a holiday as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I did it for 7 years. I was on a course called Strategic Coach. And Dan Sullivan is the main man, based in Toronto, and he's been doing it now for 25-30 years. And some of his pupils, if you like, students, have been on the course for 20 odd years, and they go quarterly. Some people go to Toronto. I was going to London when I was doing it, and you're with a cohort of other people that are doing it, all different sectors, all different people, different backgrounds, different interests and hobbies and all sorts, but a fascinating group of characters. Some people were coming over from India to attend the London group that I was in and things, so proper commitment. You have the day, you go through the process of that day of what you were learning, and then you go off, and then in 90 days you come back. So it's amazing if you break down a year into 90-day segments, and then you look back after the 90 days and look what you've actually achieved, you can do so much. So if you did that 4 times a year, you've looked back and then looking forward, and you're committing to the rest of the room what you're going to do for the next 90 days, and then you get back in the room in 90 days' time. So your to-do list was this. Did you do that? And when you're accountable to your peers like that, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I don't know why I talked about Dan now. Oh yeah, so the idea with that was that investing in yourself and things. The more holidays you take, the more business you do whilst you are working, and the more refreshed you are at that time. So one of his big things was booking those things. And I'm now, here we are in November. I'm not sure when this is going out, but we're in November sitting here, and I'm already now started looking at the 2022 calendar and breaking down and planning in when Emma and I and the kids are going to be on holiday, and whether that's long weekends, whether that's a week at a time, maybe a fortnight, and maybe somewhere abroad, maybe somewhere local, wherever it may be. But factoring that in now, and then I'll know what days I've got available to be seeing clients, existing clients and new clients, and then I'll say, well, what's my annual target I've set myself, and then I'll have a daily amount for the days I've got available.
Wow.
So
I need your level of planning and organisation. I really do, because
it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I do need to start looking at stuff like that, because with my other show, USUK or US UK, whatever you're going to say if you don't want to get offended, but we're completely because we started this show like beginning of COVID. We had these ideas of doing Comic-Cons either side of the Atlantic and talking about culture and blah, blah, blah. And it never really worked because of COVID and because of the issues we had. So we were going to plan things. I want to look for events like festivals and plan the whole year out. And I've never done that before, but I'm going to see how it goes. I think
if you allow yourself, you book the time, plan the time to plan. 3 hours? You could nail pretty much next year.
Yeah,
do it, and then the weight that's lifted after, because you've got clarity then, and you when you've got downtime, you won't be thinking, I need to be planning what I'm doing in January, because you'll already kind of know, and then your downtime and your quality time when you're with your significant other and friends and family and kids and all of that stuff, then you're focused and you're with them, you're present, you're not in the back of your mind thinking, oh God, I've got to be doing this, because they know if you're with loved ones and you're not really there, they know. And I've been massively guilty of that in the past, because your business becomes your passion, and your passion then, if you spread yourself too thin, you don't do anything well. So having that time and focusing, right, this is what I'm doing now, right, that's done, big tick in the box. Now, right, I'm home, phone's gone, emails have stopped. I say that I was emailing clients at 9:45 last night, whatever, replying to theirs, but in the situation, it was okay, because we were as a family doing something else when I should have been concentrating on what they were doing. So you can still. I'm
guilty of it sometimes, though. I mean, it was before we went to Skegness, and I was on the laptop doing some editing or something, and I had this. And it's Timmy trying to communicate with my kid, right. And I felt so guilty. Yeah. The kid was trying to talk to me, and I was completely just focused on.
How old's Timmy?
6.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we're so close. We spend a lot of time together. So little moments like that break my heart, because I'm kind of like, oh man, that was my opportunity to share something nice with my kid.
Yeah.
So I'm putting a bit more effort into sort of. Work is work, the podcast is the podcast, and family time is family time.
Yeah.
Like last night, because I'm very busy this week, my schedule's ridiculous. I'm not going to see much of my family really. So last night was really nice, because we just dimmed the lights a bit, we spent some time with Timmy, then when he went to bed we sat down and watched some Netflix, and I really sort of treasured those few hours just sitting on the sofa. It sounds daft, but
and that's the sort of thing that everyone remembers, and your loved ones will remember. And when you are working hard and stuff, if you're in a supportive relationship, they'll support that. They understand, you've got to work, you've got to do things. I think it's quite difficult at the moment. A lot of people who are working from home, and you mentioned your laptop, and I've seen pictures of it on social media in coffee shops
that
and
laptop's
whatever.
Famous, yeah.
I see more of the laptop than you, but it becomes really difficult to have that distinction of when, okay, I'm at home, the laptop's open. Does that mean now I'm working, or am I just browsing and you got something on the telly and I'm kind of doing both, and that's really hard, and there isn't really a magic answer to that, apart from just being mindful of it, and then maybe being more sensitive and closing it and putting it down, and being there and having time when you're just watching Netflix, or you're spending time with Timmy and the family.
Yes, it is important. But when it comes to actual investments, we're talking about emotional investments, which are really important.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actual investments and taking care of someone's money, what is that like as a responsibility? Because you can get it wrong in so many different ways. Are you used to it now? Have you messed up in the past? How's that gone for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that when you've, I don't want to sound like an old git, but when you've been doing it as long as I have, you don't kind of worry about it too much, because you're confident in your own advice anyway, and you take your own advice. You structure things as I would tell a client, really. So I do feel a responsibility that if it goes wrong, I would absolutely. In 2008, when there was the recession, the big recession in my working life, that was horrendous, because people were panicking and worrying, and nobody really knew when the end was in sight. And people that couldn't sleep at night, I take that personally, and then I wasn't sleeping at night, and that began because I'm an empath. I think there's now the term, isn't it? I care, and you do put yourself in people's shoes, and you think, well, actually, in this situation, what's the best thing to do? What would I do in that situation? And you're always thinking that through. The people that panicked the most and couldn't sleep at night in 2008 got out the markets at that time, so their investment might have gone from, I'll give you some numbers, might have gone from 100,000 to 60,000, and then they're thinking, oh blimey, it's going to go to 40, it's going to go to 20, it's going to disappear. Yeah. So at that point, it might have put their 60,000 that was left into cash funds or in cash to plan altogether, and then when things had recovered, they're still sitting with cash, so they've still got their 60,000, hasn't gone down anymore, but if they left it where it was, it would have gone back up over 100. So they've actually made the loss and then never given themselves a chance to get back in. Yeah. And I only had half a dozen clients that did that at that time in 2008, but I'll never forget it. And the difficulty then is working out when they're most comfortable to get back in, and generally it's when the rise has already happened. So everything of not social media, the media generally has a downer on markets. If things are down, they report it. If there's a recovery, they don't report it. So if things are choppy, you'll have 3 updates in a week, all about how many billions have been wiped off the stock market or whatever. Yeah. They won't report that actually there was a recovery the next day. Everything's cool. So they've never tell you that. And if you take that step back and look 5 years, things will be all right. But when you're in the middle of the storm, then everybody worries and panics, and 24-hour news, and it's, if you happen to pick Bloomberg on,
watching that line go up and down.
Well, mainly down. It's the down that they would highlight, because those graphs look better if they got red on them than green or blue.
Somebody sell.
Yeah. So having the experience of the people in 2008 that got out at the wrong time and didn't get back in without making a loss. This time around, it's a lot more comfortable to say, if your objectives are still 5 years or 10 years or 20 years' time, don't worry too much about today or tomorrow or the next couple of months. It doesn't make much difference. Keep the faith. You've got it spread in enough places that some of them will be up and others will be down, and that's the way that diversifying a portfolio works, really. Sitting here today, nobody knows what the best thing will be next year. Experts, inverted commas, will try and tell you if they're trying to sell you something specific, but in reality, having enough of a spread will mean you've got the best chance of having a good range of growth.
Don't put it all on black.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and then there's lots of crazy and fads that have been and gone, and there's a lot going on at the moment that people are getting into. But the danger is, if that becomes not the investment of choice all of a sudden, and people stop wanting to buy in, who are you going to sell to?
I saw a poster actually on Facebook yesterday. It was, I think it was like 2002 or something. It was like Nokia, the world's biggest mobile company, over 1 billion phones around worldwide. And I was like, wow, that wasn't that long ago.
No, absolutely no. Well, a lot of the biggest companies now, the ones that have got the biggest market cap value, they weren't around 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where it becomes difficult to predict. But there's lots of funds that will invest in these up and coming next best thing, and probably 2 of them will be fantastic, 8 of them will fail. And that's the idea.
Like really simple ideas as well. You're like thinking, how did I not think of that? Yeah. Uber, just an app where you, I don't know. Do you have an event, business, or promotion that needs advertising? Well, the Shrewsbury Biscuit is here for you. With listeners local, nationwide, even worldwide, we have the perfect place to get the word out. And the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast is a registered CIC, so you'd be helping us while we help you. Drop us a line at shrewsburybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com and speak to us today. The Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast, the voice of Shrewsbury. I had because I didn't know anything about like investments or stocks or money or anything like that. And I remember for you, sir, we got this great relationship with TV Guest, but they're publishing a company in America, and they got us in touch with Daniel Goodman, and he sounded, because it's R-rated and we could swear and stuff, and it was amazing because he just sounded like something from The Wolf of Wall Street. It was amazing, and he was just teaching us all about, if your stocks go down, don't sell, keep it. If it goes up, sell a little bit, keep it. He was teaching me. It was so fantastic. I wish we could get into stocks, if we could just have that ride, because it just seems like something. It's like a roller coaster, up, down, up, down. But when it comes to being sensible, you've got to be sensible, right? You can't really.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't get involved in the individual shares, recommending this, buy this, sell that, do any of that. We did the whole St James's Place way. So I probably should have said. So Throgmorton Associates are a senior partner practice of St James's Place. St James's Place is a FTSE 100 company with almost £150 billion of clients' money that we look after collectively across the UK, not just this office. But the Throgmorton business now looks after over £560 million of clients' money between us and our colleagues in Leicester. So Nick Jones Wealth Planning merged, little history lesson. We merged in April this year with Throgmorton Associates, so became the snazzily titled Throgmorton Associates. So all that's changed really is that we've changed the logo on the front of the building. I'm now a director and a shareholder of a much bigger practice. Everything's 3 times the size, pretty much. But we've got management help where I didn't have before. I've now bought myself some time to start helping more clients because I was doing more of the management of the practice.
Must be nice.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And having the time to plan is really good. So this is what I'm really excited about next year. And I'm already building momentum and starting meeting new people that may well become clients before the end of the year. If not, it'll be quarter 1, quarter 2 next year. So I can see the future's really bright. But it was a great deal for me. I extracted some equity, so I took some money out, but also then reinvested some equity into the new business. And a new business, the new combined business, is going to be fantastic because we've got 15 advisors, we've got all sorts of specialisms. We've got we're trying to build a 100-year business. So the other directors are a little older than me. I'm the youngest at 50. We've got a 57. We've got a 62, and their exits over time is going to be managed properly and planned for, and then we'll have the younger advisors that come through and then can become directors in the future. So it's a real good successful story, and we're recruiting new people here now in Shrewsbury. We had a new member of staff start last week, but also, as I mentioned probably off air, we were talking about the potential for a great career within financial advice. There are more clients than ever needing advice, more potential clients, and fewer advisors to give it, because the average age of an advisor being 58, 60, they'll all be retiring in the next few years, and we need new blood coming in.
Yeah, they're always looking for the future, It's really exciting though to have this new thing that you're working on. And this is what happens, if you can put your mind to other things rather than worrying about loads of if somebody wants to come and run my social media for me, imagine the amazing things I could do with the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Just putting that out there right now, if anyone else wants to get in touch and help me out, because it's a nightmare. When it comes to financial advisors, and you're saying there's like this age threshold, so when you guys go on, there'll be like a massive cry out for financial advisors, and you're taking that forward leap,
Absolutely, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I say I've 98, I think, or 96. I got first qualified, so that's a little while now. Was it 25 years? And we've got young guys in the practice who, I mentioned Sean about mortgages, but he's probably our youngest advisor at 32. So he's got loads of time on his side, and he's a really good guy, and he's a potential star for the future. He's a star now. He's a good lad for the future. And we've got other people. It depends on their appetite for taking risks, appetite for becoming management or a director of a business. Some people just happy doing a salaried role, and that's enough. Thanks very much. My bills are paid. I don't want any hassle or stress, because it's not all sweetness and light. It can be good times, bad times. Certainly before this stage, when it was the early days, it was that time I remember distinctly. There's £10 in the wallet, and it's like, okay, is that going in buy me lunch, or is that going to put diesel in the car? And that doesn't feel long ago, and probably having that memory makes you even more thankful for what you've got and how you've done it, and the people who've helped along the way, and that's probably why I'm more than happy to give back, because I still feel very lucky. Well, I'll put the hours in, and lots of successful people I talk to, they always say, I've been lucky, but they forget when they couldn't sleep, and they forget when they remortgaged a house, and they forget when they were working 75, 80 hours a week.
And this is why when we hear these phrases like "eat the rich" and all these sort of things, I'm thinking, well, no, some people actually genuinely deserve it. They've worked hard for it.
Yeah.
If the biscuit one day becomes this massive thing, and people were like, oh, Mr. Big Boots, Mr. Biscuit guy, who do you think he is? I've worked for this, I've carried that equipment up and down the cop,
Yeah.
So, I really do appreciate people that have built their own enterprises and things, because, it takes a lot of hard work. And like you said, there are so many people out there, just like me with my actual job, I keep getting offered, like, I wouldn't say promotion, but like a better job with a bit more money, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
I want the biscuit to be successful, so I like that equilibrium, homeostasis. Kind of, I'm all right as it is going. I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. Eventually something will happen for us. But when it comes to you though, you've got that, and you've also got the Shrewsbury Town, the community as well. You're working on. You work really hard with that. You right?
Yeah. So the Shrewsbury Town and the community. I've been a trustee for 6 years, and they're just a tremendous bunch of local guys. You've been involved, haven't you? You've seen some of the stuff they do. You're in the media centre for the Pod Aid, weren't you?
Yeah.
But I mean, Jamie Edwards has been transformational. I became a trustee not long after Jamie started, I think. But back in the day when I was at Tech, I was actually working for what was Shrewsbury Town, the community then, doing football coaching. So Frank Clark, who used to be a Shrewsbury Town legend, well, he's still a Shrewsbury Town legend, but used to be a player. At the end of his playing career, became a coach, and he was manager of a sports centre at Wem or somewhere. And in the summer holidays, he would do kids football coaching courses, and I just went along, and I was collecting balls, and I was doing whatever. I was his lackey, I was his number two, his assistant. But I learned so much from him, just the way he was with the kids and stuff. And then I became a qualified football coach myself, and then was doing the summer courses myself. So I kind of worked loosely for the Shrewsbury Town community as it was back then. God, when I was 19 or something. So to come back now as a trustee and be able to help, and they've done so much, and the trustees are a great gang, different ones with different expertise. Some get involved in different projects, but the way that they transformed the whole offering, really. So it's not about football coaching, it's not about summer courses. That they still do that, and do that very well, and better than they ever did before. But now all the community projects they get involved with, they've got the different health activator schemes, they've got the extra time for the over 65s, and it's like a social club, but with a bit of care and a bit of health and fitness built in there, and they've done all through lockdown. They've actually developed even more programs, and they've become more important to the community than they were before, which is amazing. And they've got new facilities, and again, they're building new facilities even now, and extending to South Shropshire, North Shropshire, and Shrewsbury itself, and working in conjunction with schools. And we've got people, coaches that go into schools and help the staff to learn how to do the coaching sessions properly. Sometimes they'll do the sessions themselves, and they'll have an allocated worker who is then a role model for some of the young lads maybe who aren't that motivated by school but like the idea of doing something, and they've got all the Kickstarter schemes going on. It's just a massive positive for Shropshire, and just, it's still a bit of a hidden gem. Although as much social media as they can put out there, and as many people like me that will spout about it for hours, they just do so much, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I didn't know that." And we've got a gala ball coming up 19th of November at the football ground.
Yeah, I've got an invite for that with Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah, you going?
I think so, possibly.
Yeah. It's always a great night, because they do awards about the participants for different things, and they thank sponsors and stuff, because that's important.
Yeah.
We set up a Friends of the Community scheme with Jamie and I probably about 5 years ago now. 5 years ago, and we've got about 23, 24 firms that pledge £1,000 each for the year.
Oh, that's nice.
And so that's £25,000 that goes into the charity. Sometimes you can say, I'd like that to go to the the walk-in football program or the extra time program, and they'll divert it that way. Or sometimes you can say, I want to sponsor a golf day. So we've sponsored the golf day for the last 5-6 years, and that raises additional money. So you're magnifying the money that you put in,
nice,
but raising more money, and it's a networking opportunity as well, and thanking clients and friends and stuff. But again, it's just another way of putting back.
That's initially why I thought of using their venue for Pod Aid, is to be like, we're here at Shrewsbury Town Community, thanks so much, and we did give them a really good mention, and I'm really grateful for them. But like, we've been speaking to them for a good while before. They've been on the show like 3 times, I think. James been on twice, and then we went to when they helped the Ark.
That's right.
And they were having the footballers there, and we went around and...
I was at the game, yeah. So it was like a VIP launch of the actual
I was there,
facility, yeah. So again, during lockdown, you couldn't have fans there.
Yeah.
And Marvin Morgan bought a team, didn't they? So the guys came.
It's nice.
And so the Ark played against these stars and some ex-players and things. It was just a great day.
I love them. And, community is really important, because we have seen so much negativity. There has been so much, especially with social media. I actually, when I went away, I actually deleted Facebook just for a little bit, just for a week, give myself a break, because as horrible as it is, there are certain sites that I have to keep on my Facebook and keep an eye on what's going on, because I'm part of the press. It's what I do, right? But those comment reels, they're just the worst, right? So seeing all that negativity, when you see these good things happen in the community, like yourself, and there's so many great companies around Shrewsbury doing some amazing things. It really is. It's relieving. It really is. It's a relief to know.
You need that balance, don't you? If all you read is negativity, you can't help. As strong as you might be minded yourself, you're going to get brought down by it. And there's a massive thing to say about surrounding yourself with positive people. And however bad things get, you're in it together, and things will get better. And through lockdown, one of the things I did find, I'd started going to Endorf, and you've had Connor on the show, haven't you?
Yes, he's a good guy.
Connor's an absolute star. He's a legend, and Emma, my wife, had found the group before I did, and then I joined up in January 2020, I'll say, and then not long after, come to March, and shut down, so the gym closed. He went straight on the Zooms, so everybody then trying to find the technology, getting it working. So I was doing it on an iPad at home, but through the Facebook links and things. But having that discipline and having that structure each day was so important. I didn't at the time. I didn't really realise how important it would be. But trying to keep the business going, trying to work out that everyone, staff-wise, was okay at home, all that responsibility, I felt the brunt of that.
Of course.
15 of us at that point before we'd done the merger and everything, which was a year later. And making sure everyone's okay, making sure clients are okay. We got involved in the community as far as like delivering prescriptions. We got involved volunteer driving, delivering when the local takeaways were donating meals to the NHS or to vulnerable. We were just jumping in the car and going and doing that, and whatever it was to help at the time, because you need to feel you're doing something, because you felt vulnerable and useless otherwise, wasn't it really? But with the Endorf and the actual group PT stuff, although it was online, it was getting me up in the morning. 6:30 they were then. This morning's section now we're back in the gym at 6:45. But yeah, 6:30 this morning. 6:30 was the online. Half an hour, 7 o'clock. Showered, breakfast, right. 8 o'clock, 8:30, ready to start the day. And without that, it's quite easy to have a lie in it. What am I doing this morning? I haven't got a meeting till 11. Okay, well, just have a lazy day.
Need that motivation.
Yeah, especially working from home.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Everything turned into Peloton.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody got on Zoom. It's fantastic. I need to look for. I'm looking for a gym at the moment. There's lots of like health clubs and stuff around Shrewsbury, but I need a gym.
What do you need from a gym?
Do you know what? Right, I really want to run. I keep saying this, and people listen to the Biscuit Lab, like, oh, here he goes again. I want to do like a 10k or something, but I'm not comfortable running on the road because I've got wobbly bits. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just want a cross trainer and a treadmill just to run on. Bam, done. That's it. Okay. That's all I need.
Have you seen the Couch to 5k program?
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah. I should try that. So
my wife's halfway through it now, and she'll tell you she's not a runner and worries about wobbly bits as a lot of people do, because you're trying to get in condition and you've got to start somewhere.
Usually I don't care. I put myself out there in the public all the time, but when it comes to like running and stuff, it's not.
Yeah. But if you can run 5, you can run 10.
Yeah.
And I've done the London Marathon twice. You wouldn't think by looking at me. I did it 2019 actually, and 2009, and I'm going to do it in 2029 because then I would have done it 3 consecutive, once each decade for three times, and I'll probably still be about 5 hours 40 something, which isn't fast by any means. There's a bit of walking in there, but again, I'm ticking the box. I'm doing it, and we did it for Ling and Davis this time, which was your charity for body, wasn't it? Yeah. And those guys are fantastic, and Steve Oliver, who works here, and I did it. And we raised just over 6,000, I think, between us.
Congratulations!
But it was great and just a fantastic event. But if like the Shrewsbury 10K, if that's your target, if we talk about planning, that's in March next year. It's only November.
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's do it. I mean, I need to. If anybody wants to give the Shrewsbury Biscuit a concessionary fee, sort of for a chip. No, I mean, but what is it? I mean, this was very cleverly steered sort of conversation because I wanted to ask you about the marathons and the things that you do, the canoeing and what is it about you about pushing yourself and doing this?
You've read the website, have you?
Yeah, I have. I did my research.
Yeah. So 2000 and I'll get the years wrong, especially after COVID. Everything's gone. It's all mixed up, isn't it? But one year I did the Thames Challenge. So we rode from the source of the Thames down to Windsor, which took 5 days. 20-odd mile day, 120
Sounds like a great trip.
It was great. We were camping at night. We had a support team that were going and setting up the camps and stuff. So we were just doing the paddling, which is, but it was relentless, to be fair, and it was lovely. And there were 15 of us from across St James's Place, across the country, that sort of volunteered and then put a little business plan together and then raised money collectively. Because St James's Place have a charitable foundation, and the company, the UK PLC, match pound for pound whatever we raise. So, so that's quite nice, isn't it? So that's an incentive. So anything we do, we do golf days, we do all sorts of stuff throughout the year, and it all goes to the central pot that gets matched by the corporate firm.
Nice.
And it'll be £8 million this year probably.
Wow.
The matched figure. So it's a big pot, and then it gets given out. So I was involved in an application for funding for the movement centre, and they've applied for £10,000, which hopefully, I haven't seen it yet, but hopefully that should be signed off. So we raise the money and it comes back. That's the beauty. And with the connections locally, we can do that. A few years ago, we had £2,500 from the St James's Foundation that went to Shrewsbury the community for the power chair football programme. Because the footballs for power chairs, you imagine you've got the young guys and girls driving these power chairs. The footballs are massive. They're about 50 quid each. They're big things.
Really?
Yeah, and they needed that, and I think an extra chair or something. So the £2,500 paid for that, and they've been doing Monday night sessions ever since. So it's great money that's we raise, goes into the central pot, gets matched, and then we can claim it back for good causes. So if any of the listeners have got good causes they want to have supported, get in touch, and we can absolutely do that. So you talk about the original charity side. So I did that, the Thames one. The year after I did Mount Toubkal, which is in Morocco.
Yeah, I read
so that there was a bigger group of us for that, and that was great but horrendous, but really hard work and stuff. And the day of the summit was something I'll never forget. But again, a good putting yourself out there, doing things and making a difference. I've always loved challenges, and sometimes I get sponsored and sometimes I just do it for the hell of it. So jumped out of a plane. Emma bought me that for Christmas. I think she was trying to tell me something. I made sure she had nothing to do with packing the shoot itself. It was just did that at Tilstock, the airfield there, just by Whitchurch, and that was tremendous. A solo one. So you jump out and you've got to. As you jump out, the chute itself is supposed to release because it's on a line attached to the plane, and then you just float down. But it doesn't always happen straight away. So you have a day's training on the what ifs. It doesn't open, and as it was, I looked up and mine hadn't really opened, so it was all twisted. So I'm there dangling, thinking, oh, okay, I'm looking down, I'm looking back up at the chute, and they taught you to twist yourself around. Hopefully then it unfurled itself before you hit the ground and come down. So that was a little bit stressful, and that wasn't even for charity. That was just for fun. So that was that one. I'll tell you about next year's challenge though, which it would have been this year's. Another St James's Place trip for the foundation is that a few years ago they set up a charity called Supporting Nepal's Children, and those guys funded and built a school that has now been going, for probably 5 or 6 years. And they've got another project which they're doing alongside the school to build a college where people can learn plumbing and electrician skills and building and dressmaking and all sorts of skills that people can learn, and then they can go back to their areas and set up a business and teach other people the same skills.
Nice.
So there's 15 of us on the programme, again from all over the UK, and we've pledged to raise 75,000 between us. That's then going to get matched. And then the 75,000 matching is going to go to something called Onside, which are UK-based sports and recreation zones in deprived areas. I think that's the title of it, just snazzily. But Onside. But if you look at the website, they do some great stuff. So it's double-edged, really. You've got the Nepal thing, which is going to be brilliant, make a massive difference to those guys, and then you've got the UK matching funding, which is going to be really making a difference in deprived areas in the UK. But for the Nepal side, we get to go over. We're supposed to be there. I think we're supposed to be there now. It was going to be October, at the end of October weekend for about 14 days. And we would have been there now, but it got canned when the Delta virus, Delta version kicked off, because Nepal's got a huge border with India that's unmanned, and there's very little vaccination program, and they've really suffered. So they need the money and the help more than ever.
But you can't get over
You can't get there to do it, no. So they are starting a programme. So we were originally going to be going and clearing the ground and digging the footings and doing all that stuff, starting off. But it looks like now we're going to go at the same time next year, and we'll actually be finishing things off. So we'll be doing painting, and we'll be almost doing the official handover, because we've already raised lots of money because we thought we were going. So that's going to be October next year that I'm going and taking part. But it's 4 or 5 days of hard labour on the actual build or the prettying up of the site, hopefully at that point now. And then some days trekking around the Himalayas. You do Everest itself.
Amazing.
But you get, so, because it was a big year for me this year, 50 in January, the emerging or the evolution of the practice in April, and then that would have been a great end to the year now, but it's just been deferred.
So you're going to do it next year? And
Yeah.
And extra time to raise a bit more money then?
Absolutely, yeah. And because of the way that we've done it and the year that I've had, I'm actually personally matching the matched. Hang on, let's get this right. So for each pound that I get raised, I'm matching that myself personally, make it £2, and then St James's Place are matching that, so it'll be £4. So every pound raised becomes 4.
Wow. Okay.
And I've carried that. I've sort of pledged to do that next year as well. It was only going to be this year, but it's next year because I'm not going until next October. And it's looking like it should be about 6.5, 7, which will become 14, which will become 28. So
amazing.
That's pretty good.
Oh, I love that you do this, though. I love.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought your Pod Aid T-shirt and stuff. It's just the way you bought that. It's probably one of the most expensive T-shirts you've ever bought.
It is without a posh designer badge on. Yeah.
I love that you do this because, I mean, when it comes to like the community aspect of things, there are sometimes these unsung heroes that go out there and really push themselves out, and it really just has a nice feeling about it, and it just makes me feel warm. And the fact that you've managed to help something I've put together personally, it makes it, selfishly, makes it even better. So thank you for all that you're doing for the community. I think
I love it. I get more out of it, and you said earlier, it's not about the money necessarily. It's about how you make people feel, and that's what people remember.
Yeah,
and it's the same work-wise, really. If you can keep people organised and change their life because they can now do something that they thought they couldn't, how great's that? I'm in a very privileged position that people tell me things they don't tell many other people. Some people don't talk about money in the family. They wouldn't tell their parents or their siblings, or they've just got this situation, but they'll confide in me. Good times and bad. So, I mean, sadly, sometimes some things happen to people, and they ill health or sudden death or something horrendous, and if we're the first person that they call, and then they say, okay, this is the situation, we've got to keep it positive as we can. And sometimes it's a really bad prognosis. We've got to be realistic, and then we really help for them whilst they've got whatever time they've got left, and then their next of kin. I've got a lady at the moment, sadly, who's just become a widow of a guy who's fantastic, looked after him for about 8 or 9 years. People become like family. That's a big responsibility then to make sure she's okay. And he knew, I spoke to him 2 weeks before he died, he knew he didn't have long left. And the conversation was all about, okay, I know you'll look after her, Nick, but please promise me. And I'm like, of course I will. You know me. And he's like, yeah, I know. So that's lovely. But he knew he was not long left. And it's just nice to be able to give him that peace of mind when he needed it. And we are looking after his wife, and she's lovely, and she will just let us get on with it like he used to, really. But it's knowing that we're there and that support, and we've turned a bit dark at the moment, haven't we? But it's very
it's important.
It's as important as the good stuff.
Yeah. And there's also like the challenges. I mean, like, what about if somebody came to you that is used to putting everything on black and is very impulsive with their money and stuff like that? How difficult is that for you guys?
Some people aren't ready to have like things properly organised at the moment, and that's absolutely fine. And we would never fall out with anybody and say, "Oh, you're a fool." We might think,
"What have you done that for?"
I wouldn't do it like that. And we do have some clients that like to have a play with some of their money, and they might say, "Okay, well, I've got some Bitcoin, I've got a bit of this," and they always feel like they're confessing sometimes. And you're like, well, as a proportion of what you've got altogether, you've got 10% that you're taking a risk with personally. That's okay, it's not going to stop you sleeping at night. If it goes up, fantastic, great. If you lose it, you can afford to lose it, and that's fine as well. So that's okay. And some couples have got different levels of risk they're happy with themselves. So the husband sometimes will take more risks, and the wife won't even know about it. And they say, "Oh yeah, we've got that bit over there, but don't talk about that when she's in the room." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, absolutely right." And sometimes it's the other way around. It could be the wife who's got other things going on, or running away money, or whatever they call it. If there's a little pot there, just in case it doesn't work out. Been married 25 years, but it might turn sour.
I want to move to Tahiti.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And people tell you all sorts. Yeah. And I got one couple who were going to go live in Bulgaria. That's their thing. They've already got a place there. They're just putting all the money aside, getting everything organised, and they're going to have a whale of a time on not much money, because you don't need much money apparently in Bulgaria. And it's supposed to be fantastic.
I always said to the wife, we need to spend a year in the States, because I want to take, while I'm doing this with the microphone, I want to, take this British accent of mine across there, because I love it, genuinely. I reckon I could find work over there. Yeah. Hi, and welcome to the radio, I already kind of do it now. Oh God, I got off topic now. But yeah, with those guys that take risks, so they're in safe hands when they come to you, and you'll help them out. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And they say we wouldn't judge, and sometimes people have done it themselves and they do okay, and you can get lucky and you can do things really well if you've got a share portfolio with a platform like a Hargreaves Lansdowne or something. It's cheap and you can manage it yourself. What we do find is when things get sticky, if there's a tough time and things are going down in value, that's sometimes when people hand over the reins and they say, "You know what? I've enjoyed the ride, now I just need it done properly because I've made some money, I don't want to lose it." And that's the thing then, the fear of losing what they've already built is a thing. And sometimes people inherit money and they don't want to take risk with that person.
It's that anxiety of not making a move because you're too scared to.
Yeah. So what should I do? And generally, again, it took back to time scale. So if you've got long enough, things will go up, things will go down. But if you don't need all that money in one go in the next 2 months, you can maybe do something with it. We'd always say at least 3 to 5 years as an investment horizon, really, ideally. But access is available beforehand if you really need it for something. That's the sort of rule of thumb.
Well, I think this has been a great proper icebreaker for us, because we've met kind of via Pod Aid and drunk at a disco, silent disco, gotta say. It's very weird, that wasn't it? You take your headphones and go, "Oh, hello, hi, how are you?" It's very interesting.
Surreal.
Yeah. And I appreciate talking to you because you are a pillar of the community, and I see your name even before Pod Aid mentioned a few times on different projects and things, and I'm likely to see you about as well. So
I should say,
fireworks and stuff. Is there anything because obviously you got this new venture coming up, new financial advisor and stuff. If somebody wanted to get into that sort of trade now and sort of join you, what advice would you give them?
Well, we've actually at St James's Place have an academy where they will take non-industry people with the right skill set. To be fair, they've got to be the right kind of people. To be fair, you've got to get on with people. Yeah. You've got to have generally a positive outlook. If you might be a professional already, you might be looking for a career change. It might be that you've got the potential to do something different. And the academy used to be based in 4 different places in the UK. Now it's all online. So COVID has helped, and it really means that people don't then have to relocate to Birmingham or somewhere else. They can do it. And then if you've got an aspiration to either have your own practice, then that's something that you could do. Or if you've got an aspiration to be an advisor within an existing practice like ours, then that's another route. But the training's the same. It just means you've got either more responsibility, you're doing it yourself, or you're joining a practice where you've got a lot more help to hand. But either way, if people just get in touch, we've got Academy Open evenings, which is scheduled. There are some now before the end of the year, and there'll be some in the start of next year. But it's worth keeping your eye out if you've got an aspiration. And age-wise, probably mid-20s onwards, really. I think the oldest person who joined the Academy programme was 60. So,
oh, wow.
So
okay.
It doesn't need to be new blood as in you're young and you've got 40 years to throw at it. It could be that you've got a career in mind and it's 10 or 15 years. That could still work.
Fantastic. So there's opportunities out there for people. If you're listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit and you want to change your career, then there's an opportunity there for you guys. Yeah. Okay, so my battery's running out I forgot to charge my batteries for the H6, which is very unprofessional, but hey, that's how it's gone today. Thank you so much for chatting to me. Genuinely, I've loved it. I want to tell the listeners about a few things that's going on. Oh, first of all, the website, that's the best way to get in contact. That's probably really important. Like we say, there's the opportunities. So how do you get in touch?
Yeah. So the website itself is www.throgmortonassociates.co.uk.
Yeah, not what I said. No, I'm not going to
my email, I'll give you access. It should be a little bit shorter. It's it's nick.jones@sjpp.co.uk.
Good, great, I love it. Get in touch, guys. So a few things going on at the Biscuit at the moment. We're releasing our vintage episodes of the Shrewsbury Biscuit on YouTube only because we've released the audio. If you wanted to sort of go onto wherever you collect your websites and type in a certain person with the Shrewsbury Biscuit, you can find them. Those classic episodes. But we never really used YouTube, so every Sunday we're releasing a vintage Biscuit, I'm calling it. So if you want to listen to our first episodes of Chris Shirk or Simon Bell or the Stan Sedman and Lorraine Fletcher from For the Love of Shrewsbury, all these old episodes that were from the beginning, you can get them on Sundays now. It'd be great. So get involved with that. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you check out our website as well, which is the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast.co.uk, and that's made by our friends at Web Orchard. If you need a website, make sure you check them out. Peter look after you. He does make a cracking website. So Nick, thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you. It's been great.
And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.